In the early 2000s, you had all of these different Sonic games releasing one after another, and some being more prominent than others, but the direction that Sega started to head towards, being 3D, meant taking Sonic as a whole to a new level unlike anything we've ever seen before. The era of the Dreamcast was long gone at this point, and they started focusing on releasing games on multiple different platforms, and once again proved themselves to the fans that Sonic can still do the best that it can without the safety net of console exclusivity. However, one particular title in 2003 that truly started to revolutionize the franchise with its mission to bring the games to multiple platforms and embark the journey of proving a point with where Sega would take the Sonic series towards, and that's Sonic Heroes. To give a bit of background about myself regarding this particular game, especially if you are new here, is that this was my very first Sonic game, and it was because of this title it would introduce me to the franchise. My opinions that I am about to share in this video do not come from any bias, as I like to give a fair share of critiques when I talk about stuff, and this is no different. I ask that if you disagree with anything that I have to say, I'd like to invite you to respectfully share your thoughts in the comment section, as I would love to hear the different perspectives that you may have regarding the topic of this video. I've seen a lot of reviews of the game on this website, and the common consensus as to why a decent amount of people didn't really like this game came down to a few of these reasons. 1. Slippery controls. 2. Repetitive stages, and 3. A lack of vision of this title overall. As a disclaimer, you can dislike this game, that's completely fine, as you are entitled to your own opinion. I'm not here to convince you that you should like it, but as the title suggests, I feel as if all of the points I mentioned earlier are just misunderstood, and I'm here to talk about why I believe that. Like any other Sonic game, it each comes with their own different set of momentum, physics, mechanics, and so on. When talking about the controls, it's no different from the adventure games Sonic 06 and even Shadow the Hedgehog for that matter. When you take a minute to understand the movement in the respective game you are playing, it would only allow you to adapt to it better to be able to perform smoothly when completing the level you are on. Sonic Adventure 2's grinding can be abysmal, as sometimes you can just get stuck in the dead center of the rail and you might have to risk a death to get out of it. Does something like that make that game absolutely terrible? Not really. Sonic Unleashed, Colors, Generations, and Frontiers have the boost formula, and one has more jumps than the other that can make or break your movement depending on the style you are used to playing. And so would that also classify as slippery controls too, if you happen to boost off the stage without taking a second to understand why that even happened? So when we take a look at Heroes, if you ring dash off the stage and you didn't align yourself correctly, attacking with the power character off stage presents no reason to be doing it to begin with most of the time. And here is a favorite of mine, and that's when people move left or right to run on the ceiling during an Emerald bonus stage, and then complain when they jump and lose the speed they had, when all you need to do is focus on going straight, and grab the balloons to fill your boost meter a bit, to which you can just hold the boost button afterwards and beat the stage in less than 30 to 40 seconds. And this is with those spiky bombs that slow you down if you run into them, by the way. Am I seriously the only person that thought these stages were super easy? When I see the slippery controls complaint, in all honesty, this might be a hard pill to swallow for some of you, but it realistically is just a skill issue at the end of the day. A lot of players I see don't like to admit when they actually just aren't good at specific Sonic games. For myself, I suck at playing 2D Sonic when others are the complete opposite, and I find that perfectly okay. But me not being good at 2D wouldn't warrant me calling a game completely garbage. Sonic Mania, for example, to me was an insane 2D Sonic game to play. I wasn't good at it, but I can sure appreciate what that game brought to the table. But to base the consensus that Heroes just isn't good because you the player aren't good enough isn't a fair assessment in my opinion. Am I saying this game isn't slippery? No, I can admit that it is, but once you understand that movement / momentum, then the quote-unquote slippery feeling gradually disappears, and the same could be said to other titles in the franchise that have similar issues. Moving on to the repetitive stages, yes, in fact you do play through the stages 4 times through each time, but something to think about, which also goes into the claim of the game not having a vision, is that these are shortened/expanded stages that best fit the team that is being played. Team Sonic is a normal mode with high-speed, action-packed set of stages. Team Dark have extended versions with higher difficulty. Team Rose has shortened stages for beginners, and Team Chaotix has different stages set to complete various different missions. This information in itself isn't new, but what I believe people don't see is that the different variations of the stages almost offer an extended look to the world building that are set at different locations. If other teams had different maps taking place in completely different locations, I'm sure there would be complaints regardless that the world building on the set stages wouldn't have been enough and overall too short to experience without learning much of what the location even is. So it's a lose-lose type of situation. The game already sets itself up with the stories that each team has and their motives as to why they are even committed to their adventure to begin with. So if the repetition is troublesome, it makes me think, how would people go about making the story make sense for the characters to meet each other at different portions of the game when it's time for a team fight? Say what you will about it, but I think the most important aspect that people don't realize is how brilliantly the stages introduce a mechanic/feature and even enemies that will also debut in the upcoming stages you're about to play. For example, Seaside Hill introduces the bobsled, which you see again in Rail Canyon. Grand Metropolis introducing rail grinding, which you then see in Rail Canyon 2 with the bobsled from Seaside in Bullet Station. And then you have a little bit of air targets being introduced to unlock portions of the stage which are used a lot in the Mystic Mansion section of the game. The list goes on, which ultimately leads to the last set of stages that encompasses nearly 90% of what you saw in your adventure to put your skills to the test. It's the level designs and the amount of ways you can get to the goal ring that you can shake up your gameplay a bit to experience something different each time. You're not set to play a specific way, and there's no correct way to go about playing these levels either, and that's the beauty of it. It's really difficult to say that the game has no vision when you take all of these things into consideration. Which also lets me bring up these next set of points. The art direction, bright character colors, proper lip syncing, character movement to match their reactions or even dialogue, a good selection of voice actors that continue to knock their roles out of the park. Yeah, before you say it, I do think that Tails sounding like a 5-year-old is a bit much, but realistically, when has Tails ever had a good English dub? But regardless, you can clearly see that there was a vision of some kind with Takashi Iizuka and the rest of Sonic Team in the USA that had stepped up their game a bit from Adventure 2. I think the way they handled Shadow was perfect. The whole time he's chasing Eggman to find answers about himself, when in reality, he is the real Shadow that you play as during the game, which creates a segue to have a whole entire game about him to discover the truth of all of it. The continuation of developing characters even further is something I see very little people speak about, and especially for Metal Sonic. Don't get me wrong, this game is far from perfect. We don't see many elements introduced in Heroes in the later releases, but one thing's for sure is that the Sonic games have continued to not shy away from trying something new, and that is something I can appreciate. The different styles for these games that we see will ultimately decide whether the fans would like or dislike something, and I think it's perfect because at the end of the day, there is something for everyone to enjoy and something for you to stick with for years to come. Perhaps later down the road, your opinion changes of the said title the more you dig into it. Who knows? Overall, I hope I got my points across as to why I believe Sonic Heroes is just a misunderstood game, and if you'd like to share your thoughts about this title, then feel free to do so in the comment section, as I'd love to hear about them. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new to stay up to date with these uploads, as a lot of work goes into them. That's all I have for you guys today. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.